Joining us now, Prince William County Board Chairman and Trump supporter, Corey Stewart. Great to have you with us. Thanks
Always
very
a
much for your
pleasure.
time. Good to have you here. You were as vocal and enthusiastic a supporter of candidate Trump as anyone that I encountered during the course of the campaign. Are you in that place now that you've been over the last X number of months?
I can't tell you how excited I am for this day. And, you know, people around the country just feel like the country is taking such a positive turn, that the country's headed in the right direction. And that's certainly the way I feel right now.
What sorts of things do you expect to see from this new president, this new vice president, his team, at a time when he takes office with, at least on paper, at least in theory, a lot that's possible, because he has allies on Capitol Hill, or at a minimum, he has his party in control in both chambers. So what's your feel, what's your hope for what we get over the next few months?
Well, what I hope and what I think are going to happen are going to be a little bit different, I think. What I think is going to happen is this. I mean, nobody's honeymoon lasts forever. Trump's honeymoon, which I'm not even sure he's going to have much of one, but there will be a short one anyway, with the other Republicans on Capitol Hill. And they're going to try to get some things passed that they agree on, the repeal and the replacement of Obamacare, and tax cuts, especially for small business owners. I think those are the two things that Republicans agree on, and Trump, and I think those are going to be the two first things out of the gate.
You're a candidate for governor. If you're in office, if you're serving as governor of Virginia while Donald Trump is in office, what sort of replace would you like to see? The betting on repeal is high. The odds, I think, for repeal are high. What would a quality replace? A substitute, an alternative, what comes next? What would that look like?
You know, in the 1990s, when the Clinton administration wanted to reform welfare, it block granted welfare to the states. All the states, it's like laboratories. Wisconsin came up with a very good welfare reform program, and then that program was then duplicated across the country. That's what we're going to do with Medicaid. The Trump administration is going to block grant Medicaid to the states, and we're going to find out. Virginia will develop its own program for the poor, healthcare program for the poor, and then we'll see how it works. And then if another state has a better program, we'll adopt that one.
So it doesn't have to be one size fits all. It can be let experimentation ensue. Bad ideas will be less likely to get replicated. Good ideas may well find states looking to copy what any state does that moves the needle.
Absolutely. I mean, look, Medicaid has been a disaster. It doesn't serve the poor very well at all. It's very difficult to find a good physician. Physicians don't like the Medicaid program. It was developed in the 1960s by big government. We know that doesn't work anymore. It's one size that fits all doesn't work very well in a country as large as the United States, especially with regard to health care.
What will you be listening for tomorrow when the president takes the oath of office and then delivers inaugural remarks? Does a man who got far fewer votes than Hillary Clinton, coming, trying to theoretically, presumably unite the country now, are there things that he can say that would advance that cause? Is there a sort of a special need or whatever, given how this last election played out?
I don't think so. I think what Trump is going to do is he's going to keep his promises. I really do think.
You don't think he needs to, or you don't think he will?
I think he will.
Think
I think he will, and I think he needs to. I think he made specific promises.
I'm sorry for a second. Going back to the not the idea of promises, but the general tone he sets in terms of trying to unite the country and move us forward. Given what a controversial election this was, given that he got 3 million fewer votes than Hillary Clinton, given just the general dynamic that's out there, is there a need for something special in terms of unifying language, and do you think he'll deliver in that way?
I'm going to deliver the answer that you probably don't expect and that most people aren't going to say. No. This is not a time for unity. This is a time for leadership, and that means you go out there, you do what you promised to do, you don't listen to the left, you get those tax cuts done, you enforce the border, You repeal and replace Obamacare, you're never going to get the left to support those things. Then you go forward, and once the country sees the benefits of those 3 major policy initiatives, then people will follow. But what you don't do is just, well, let's try to get everybody on board and then lead. That's not going to work. You got to lead first, and then later follows the unity.
What personality traits in Donald Trump do you think prepare him for this job and for success in this job?
He's bold. He doesn't really care all that much what people think of him. And that's exactly what the country needs right now. We've had such vain leadership over the past 40 years or so, where politicians are thinking first, how is the public going to react? That's what we don't need right now. What we need is somebody who's going to do what they think is the right thing to do, and then if the public thinks it's great, well, then he'll be reelected. If not, that's just too bad. But he's going to do what he believes is right.
Will your support of Donald Trump be a significant feature in your run for governor in Virginia this year? You've got a primary opponent in Ed Gillespie. Is the state senator still running?
Yes, yeah, Wagner.
So a 3-way race at the moment. We'll see what happens as time goes by. The election takes place this year. It's an off year election. Primary, and then of course the general in November. Is this something you'll point to, you'll talk about, et cetera, as the campaign heats up?
Oh, absolutely. But people already know that. I was the most loyal surrogate for Trump. Even in the aftermath of the Access Hollywood scandal, I was the only one saying, look, this is not a big deal. We have to move beyond that. People know that, and they know that my opponent, Ed Gillespie, didn't support Trump. He would barely mention his name. He never went to a Trump rally. And even today, he's trying to distance himself from Trump. So people know that, and they don't have respect for that. That's that consultant-driven, poll-tested, old way of doing things that people. It requires no guts. People are tired of that.
Is it possible that your vocal, full-throated, clearly enthusiastic support of Donald Trump will be tremendously beneficial in the primary and an anchor in the general? Look at how Virginia's performed in recent years.
Sure.
You've got 2 Democratic senators now. The state has favored Democrats in recent presidential elections. It's clearly purple, arguably leaning a little bit blue. The Assembly, of course, very Republican. But is it possible that your connection, your clear connection in the public's mind to Donald Trump, will pay big dividends in the primary, but be an obstacle in the general?
It's possible, Bruce, but I don't think that's going to be the case. Here's why. I'm the only Republican who wins in a very large district in Northern Virginia. I'm the only one. There's almost 500,000 people, Prince William County, clearly a blue county, and I'm very conservative. So how is it possible that I can win a county like that as a staunch conservative? And the reason is people are looking for leadership. And even though they may disagree with me, they know that I'm out there. I'm telling people exactly where I'm at, what I want to do, and then I get it accomplished. People respect that. That's how you win. Now, Gillespie's trying to do is he's going to try to moderate himself as far as essentially become a Democrat light, and he thinks that's the way to win. People don't respect that, and that will not work.
Are there assets in having a Northern Virginian as governor?
I'm sorry, could you say that again?
Someone from Northern Virginia, someone who knows Northern Virginia.
Yeah.
Would that pay dividends for this region to have somebody like yourself, somebody who's, again, of this place in Richmond, with a keen understanding, no briefing needed when it comes to the challenges, the promise, the needs of this part, this energy, this economy-driving part of the state?
Northern Virginia is almost 40% of the state's population. It's where almost all the economic growth is occurring. And because of that, yes, it's absolutely critical that whoever is elected governor understands Northern Virginia. You have to understand it because it needs, it's an economic machine, but it has to be fed. It needs the adequate infrastructure. It needs the adequate tax structure. We don't have that right now. We're losing a lot of jobs to North Carolina and other states because there's a lot of things that are wrong the way our economy is structured.
you raffled an AR-15 as a fundraiser, I guess?
Well, no, it was, in fact, it's illegal to do a raffle, so it was a giveaway.
Okay.
You didn't have to pay to do it, but a lot of people, contributed anyway. We had 3,000 people who put their names in the hat. We did raise $10,000 off of that.
What was the motivating idea?
It was a stunt. I mean, if people say, well, wasn't that just a stunt? I said, yeah, it was a stunt. What's wrong with that? Look, it called attention to the need for constitutional carry. It called attention to my support of the Second Amendment. It also called attention to the fact that I just don't care what people think. I'm going to go ahead and do my thing. And people kind of like that, I think, about me.
Critics will sometimes say that official buildings, we all know what they are at the different levels of government, will have policies that are very strict, and you have to go through a magnetometer, and you may not carry into the building. So the critics will say that you guys, when you're at work, you want to have that feeling of knowing that guns are much less likely to be around, sort of just around the corner, down the hall, whatever, but that when it comes to the citizenry, life on the streets, it's like the more the better.
Well, I think that there should be guns in government buildings, and one of the things that I would do as governor on the very first day that I'm inaugurated is to rescind the executive order that took guns out of state buildings. Why? Because, look, criminals and terrorists don't obey the law. They could care less whether or not it's a gun-free zone. In fact, they're going to target those areas because they know they're not going to be confronted by another gunman. So I feel more safe, and people should feel more safe, when they know that law-abiding citizens are carrying weapons, not just the criminals.
Corey Stewart, the chairman of the Prince William Board, supporter of President-elect Donald Trump, candidate for governor in Virginia this year. It's always been great having you here. Thanks so much for your time.
Thank you, Bruce.
Talk with you again, I am sure. We'll take a break. When we come back here on News Talk, the Reverend Jesse Jackson Sr. Keep it here.